January 19th is the next Community Day in Pokemon Go. And who is the special Community Day Pokemon but Empoleon? Empoleon with Hydro Cannon. So the question becomes, just how good is Hydro Cannon Empoleon in Pokemon Go? Well, in this video, I'm going to be going over just how good it is in the raid/gym meta as well as the trainer battle meta. So buckle up, it's Empoleon time. So starting out, using the DPS TDO spreadsheet on GamePress, DPS being how quickly your Pokemon deals damage, and TDO being total damage output, which is basically a metric for tankiness, you can see that Empoleon ranks number 5 compared to all the other water-type Pokemon currently in the game. Right now, I'd say it's basically on par with Feraligatr, and I'd say Feraligatr is a water-type Pokemon that you can basically sleep on, so as far as raiding and gym battling is concerned, Empoleon really isn't all that impressive. At the same time, it's not all that bad, but I'd just stick with Surf Kyogre, Crabhammer Kingler, or Hydro Cannon Swampert for all of my water-type needs. So Empoleon's not looking too hot for the raid meta, but on gym defense, it's actually pretty good. So when you think about gym defenders, you're thinking about Machamp, you're thinking about Lucario, stuff that walls them. And Empoleon, being a steel-type Pokemon, weak to fighting-type damage, that doesn't sound very good, does it? Well, I just want to let you guys know that a gym can't just be nothing but Machamp and Lucario counters, because you're going to leave yourself vulnerable to other Pokemon, such as Metagross, quite possibly the best gym attacker in the entire game. Empoleon is already good because Empoleon is the best Metagross counter currently in the game. It just walls Metagross to no end, steel type, water type, doubly resistant to the steel type attacks there. And now with Hydro Cannon, it can hit back even harder. On top of that, if somebody does swap into their Machamp or their Lucario and they start going ham on the Empoleon, well, Empoleon can whip out Hydro Cannon and hurt them too. Empoleon, the Hydro Cannon, it's pretty fast and it hits hard. So overall, I'd say Empoleon's definitely a worthy consideration for gym defense if you still care about gym defense. So Empoleon, not very cool for raids, but pretty dang cool for gym defense. What about that PvP? So here we have the general makeup of the Great League meta. Obviously this isn't the most well put together graphic in the universe, but this is the general gist of the Great League. You have the flying types and the ghost types. They beat the grass types. The grass types are there because they beat down on Azumarill, and then Azumarill beats down on the flying and ghost type Pokemon. The reason why you consider steel types in the mix is because they can also beat the flying and ghost type Pokemon, and then they have a little leeway against grass types and Azumarill. Because the steel types are pretty generally useful for that reason, you also have the fighting types in the mix just to hard counter the steel type Pokemon. And then the grass types and Azumarill generally do pretty well against the fighting types, depending on the fighting types. And I don't think I need to tell you that the flying types and the ghost types just go ham on the fighting types, right? Well, when it comes to the steel type role, right, Empoleon is pretty good. It's a steel type, it can beat the other steel types. So that is a plus, right? But with this plus, there are minuses. First minus is that Empoleon doesn't do so hot against the flying type Pokemon. It does have the opportunity to beat Altaria if it lands the Flash Cannon, but for the most part, not doing so hot against flying types. Then after the flying type Pokemon, Empoleon also struggles against the grass types. Basically, most steel type Pokemon have some negotiating power against grass types. Empoleon does not. Empoleon just loses to grass-type Pokemon. Empoleon still does pretty well against Azumarill, so that's still maintaining the Steel-type role. And it definitely loses to fighting types, but Steel types are expected to lose to fighting types, right? But overall, I'd say these two big drawbacks keep Empoleon from being a potent force in the Open Great League meta. But that is just the Open Great League meta. What about those specific Silph Cups? When it comes to the Fusion Cup, which is the current format in the Silph Arena right now, Hydro Cannon Empoleon basically flips my entire graphic on its head. It makes the whole graphic almost irrelevant, because straight up, Empoleon beats all the steel type Pokemon, right? So they don't matter anymore. And then you get the fairy, the ice types, beats all of them. Then you get the flying type Pokemon. Beats most of them. It has kind of a shaky matchup against Altaria. If you land the Flash Cannon, you can win. Chances are you probably won't, but Altaria, still there. Fire-type Pokemon, yeah, you better believe it beats them. So what do we have to counter this beast? We have the other Mud Boys, which also have the potential to lose to Hydro Cannon and Empoleon. So circumstances depending, they can win. You have Altaria, which can beat it, circumstances depending, once again. And then you have the Grass-type Pokemon. So I'd say with Empoleon, hammering down on these 3 food groups here is going to make the meta a lot more interesting. Now obviously the meta is not going to just be ground-type Pokemon, Altaria, Grass-types, and Empoleon, right? Because if grass types, Empoleon, and Mudboys are big, well that gives some more credence to fighting type Pokemon. And some fighting type Pokemon, namely Poliwrath, can also deal with Altaria. And then if you are inviting fighting type Pokemon into play, well then the fairy types start to get roped back in. And then as far as the steel types are concerned, well Bronzong kind of likes the idea of the grass types, the Altaria, and fighting type Pokemon. So I'd say the meta is going to change. The Fusion Cup meta is definitely going to change, and it's going to change enough where I'm going to have to make a new graphic and make a new meta simplified video. So subscribe to Swag Tips if you want to check that out. So yeah, that's basically it. In short, Empoleon is basically a steel type that is also a Mudboy in theory, right? And because of that, the meta will never be the same. So what kind of Empoleon do you want for the Fusion Cup? Waterfall does have breakpoints from the attack stat, right? But from what I've seen, a lot of the matchups that matter come down to your HP stat being high. So a high rank Empoleon is going to be important. So like high defense, high HP, but most importantly, the HP. So get ready for Community Day if you are involved in the Fusion Cup. Now, if you're sitting back at home and you're thinking, well, Ryan, Swag, this is just a Fusion Cup. Like, what's going to happen after that with Empoleon? Well, Sinister Cup, Empoleon was already good there. People were already winning with Empoleon in the Sinister Cup without Hydro Cannon. So that's one other cup that it does good in. In Timeless Cup, there's tons of Dragon, Ice-type, and Poison-type Pokemon that were really good. Would many of them want to deal with Empoleon? I don't think so. And now we got the Fusion Cup, where Empoleon is obviously dominating. So I don't think this is going to be the last cup where Hydro Cannon Empoleon is going to be relevant, because this is obviously not the first cup where Empoleon has been relevant in general. So be prepared for that. Now, as far as the Ultra League and the Master League are concerned, I don't think Empoleon's going to be it. Basically, the makeup of those leagues focus on the Ghost types, the Steel types, and then the Fighting types that counter the Steel types. When you bring in Empoleon as a Steel type that can potentially beat the other Steel types, that doesn't really hold up too well in the Ultra League and the Master League. And I'd say the emphasis on the Fighting type Pokemon in those leagues as well definitely holds Empoleon back in a massive way. And then you go up against, what, the Ghost type Pokemon, which basically means Giratina. Giratina, you think Empoleon's going to beat Giratina? Yeah, no, not happening at all. So it might be a good idea to, maybe try to get an Empoleon prepped for the Ultra League and the Master League in case something happens in the future, making Empoleon good. But the way things look right now, I'm going to say Empoleon's not going to be hot for either of those metas. And yeah, there you have it. That is the basic of Hydro Cannon Empoleon. Not so good for raids. Pretty awesome for gym defense, best Metagross counter on gym defense. As far as PvP is concerned, it's not really good in the open PvP, open Great League, open Ultra League, open Master League. Empoleon's just not happening. But in Silph Cups, Empoleon is already pretty dang good. And with Hydro Cannon, it just takes Empoleon to that next level, actually flipping the current cup, the Fusion Cup, right on its head. So much so that I'm going to have to make another Fusion Cup simplified graphic and video because Empoleon is just that good. So if you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up. I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this content, you want to see more like it, maybe you want to see the updated Fusion Cup graphic, well, make sure to subscribe to Swag Tips. Oh wow, I cleaned up my desktop finally, and I guess I moved the file that my Swag Tips background was in. And I gotta figure that out now, don't I? Swag Tips. There you go, guys. Yeah, and I'm back now, guys. Yeah, you had about a week without the Swag Man here. Basically, holidays plus work immediately after kind of shut me down a little bit. But I'm back in action, so good to be back.